Ask how many people got married 300 years ago, and most of us will say the same thing. You said the words, two people, a promise, and that was that. It is wrong, and we can date exactly when the mistake was made. 1809, a courtroom in New York. An American judge read 300 years of English law and got it backwards. Everyone has copied him since. Historians, novelists, all of us. So if a promise on its own was never enough, what did it actually take to get married? Lawyers called it a contract by words of the present tense. I take you, you take me, said out loud in front of people who could swear to it. And for most of the last 200 years, everyone agreed that made a marriage. Then a legal historian called Rebecca Probert went back and read the actual cases, the court records, the pamphlets, the arguments in Parliament, the novels people were reading. What she found was that those promises really did bind you. But a promise that binds you sits a long way short of a marriage. It gave you no husband's rights and no wife's. It did not settle who inherited. It did not make your children your heirs. People at the time understood that perfectly well, so they went to church. There is a second thing everybody knows about old marriages, and it is also wrong. Handfasting, people say. A marriage that lasted a year and a day, then you chose again. No. Nobody in medieval England had ever heard of it. It comes from a novel. Walter Scott, 1820. He made it up, readers loved it, and it has been passed off as history ever since. So, two myths, both invented in the 1800s. One by a court, one by a novelist. What it really took was a notice, read out loud, 3 Sundays running. Your name, the name of the person you meant to marry, said to the whole parish. Then a pause. And that pause was the whole point. Because reading it out gave everybody there the chance to stop it. If you were married already, someone in that church would know. If you were promised elsewhere, or too close a cousin, they would know that too. Your marriage was the parish's business, and the parish was told before you were wed. The notice went up where nobody could miss it. On the door, everyone walked past. So who was standing beside you while your name was read out? Probably not anyone from the street you grew up on. Most young people left home in their teens and went to work in other people's houses. Boys into apprenticeships, girls into service, years of it. Which meant they met each other a long way from their parents. And it meant they married late. In England, women married at around 25, men a year or two older. Not 12, not 15, the middle of their 20s, with 10 years of wages behind them. Parents still had a say, and money still mattered a great deal. But they could almost always refuse. The right to say no was real. Not everyone wanted 3 Sundays of it, though. In London, there was a way round, and it was busy. In the back rooms and taverns around the Fleet prison, clergymen would marry you on the spot. No banns, no waiting, no parish, a few shillings and a signature. In the 1740s, about 6,000 marriages a year were happening there. The registers that survive hold about 250,000 names. In 1753, Parliament shut it down. Church, clergyman, 2 witnesses, or nothing. Which sounds like the state taking marriage off ordinary people. It was closer to writing down what they already did. Couples who wanted round the new law had to leave England. That is why Gretna Green exists. Now jump 150 years. The parish still reads the banns, but it no longer decides anything. The question has changed. Not who is allowed to marry you. Where on earth you are supposed to meet them. Because the way respectable people did it needed something most families did not have. A front room, a parlour, somewhere a young man could be invited and watched. Your mother made the invitation. Your mother stayed in the room. That works if you have a parlour. Most people did not. A whole family in one room, or two, a bed in the corner, washing over the fire. There was nowhere to sit with somebody. There was nowhere to be quiet with them. So courting went outside. It had to. On a Sunday evening, in towns all over Britain, the young people went walking. They called it the monkey parade, the monkey walk, the monkey run. Young men down one side, young women down the other. Up and back, looking, being looked at, choosing. Shop apprentices, work girls, clerks, all of them earning for the first time, and all of them spending that first money on the same thing. A collar, a tie, a hat worth being seen in. You could not ask anyone home, so you wore your home on your back. And when a couple did pair off, there was still nowhere to go. They stood in shop doorways until the policeman moved them on. He moved them on all evening, every Sunday, for 40 years. It only stopped when the war started. And once a week, if you had the fare, you could get further than the end of the street. The excursion train. A few shillings, a day at the sea, and nobody there who knew your mother. Whole towns emptied onto those trains on a Sunday morning. For the first time, a courting couple could be somewhere nobody knew them. It would be neat to say those young people had escaped their parents. They had not. You met on the street, but sooner or later you were brought home to be looked at. Sunday dinner, with her family, being weighed up over the potatoes. The supervision had not gone. It had just moved to the end of the evening. What did change was what people thought they were looking for. In the 20s, people advertising for a husband or wife asked for steady, homely, a good worker, a clean house, someone who would not let you down. 20 years later, the same column was asking for loyalty, for affection. And by 1955, people had started asking for a soulmate. Nobody had asked for that before. It is a very new thing to want. In 3 generations, marriage had gone from something your parish approved to something you were supposed to feel, which brings us back to the phone. We think of it as new. 100 choices, none of them your mother's. Nobody watching, nobody reading your name out on a Sunday. And it is new, in every way that shows. But look at what you are actually doing. 2 streams of people going past each other, looking, being looked at, choosing. They did it on a wet pavement in a collar they could not quite afford. We do it in the dark, on our own, at 11:30 at night. Every couple on that wet pavement was somebody's grandparents, deciding the same thing you are. The rules changed completely. What people wanted barely moved. Next time, the one thing nobody in any century could escape. How people survived toothache before there were dentists.